Hello, this is Ari Beal with Team 1062-902, and we are going to do the website interview with David Greenberg. So, what was the name of your company that you worked for?
Worked for IBM, International Business Machines. It's well known. And you can probably go to the next question after that.
So, what was your role in your company? What are you trying to achieve?
So my role was something called semiconductor device engineer. And that's somebody who figures out how to take the raw materials that are used to make computer chips and to assemble them so as to make a working chip. In particular, the part of the chip called the transistor. That's the part that turns on and off in a computer chip or amplifies the signal in other types of chips.
So, what is 3D printing to you?
To me, 3D printing is a way to do on a small volume basis or a very custom basis what used to have to only be manufactured in the thousands or millions all the same. So I think it is really like bringing the factory to everybody in the same way that a personal computer brought the ability to publish a newsletter to everybody from it formerly being just a big printing press that could do such a thing.
In what way does your company work with 3D printing, or in what way did your company work with 3D printing?
Mostly to actually develop the 3D printing hardware itself. In building chips, there's a lot of need to do 3D structures. Mostly it's done in a factory way where you make millions of them at a time. But the ability to do custom chips, just test out a concept, to prototype a chip, is very important. You can really advance a design quickly if you can make it, and test it. So even in the semiconductor world, the ability to do essentially one-off type of chip, whether it's wiring of the chip or otherwise, is very important.
So, what do you see in the future of 3D printing?
I see it permeating everywhere. I think everywhere from an architect who's going to build a model for a client to the fashion industry trying to design jewelry or even something more elaborate. I've seen dresses made by 3D printing links and chaining them together, to the medical industry where people have surgeons have printed 3D custom replacement parts for somebody who's lost a jaw to cancer, or even as much as printing a prosthetic arm for somebody so that it looks much more realistic and fits their body perfectly.
Yeah, and that could really help with the industry of making people like in the military that have lost limbs feel better and do surgeries that can really improve them.
Absolutely. And people who are in car accidents or had diseases where parts had to be removed to cure the disease. And I think that's the more profound use, but the more mundane use could be your washing machine breaks and it's old and they don't make that part anymore. So you go to the website for that particular manufacturer and you load a little file that has the ability for you to print that part for yourself. Now you fixed your own washing machine, like having a Star Trek replicator in your own house where you just say, computer, generate me a washer, and it does it. So those two extremes, I think when you see two extremes like that, you know that it's going to go everywhere in between as well.
So, what do you think 3D printing will do to affect society?
I think it'll enable smaller companies and startups to be able to do the kinds of things that bigger companies were required to do before. And that's always good for creativity. Smaller companies tend to be very creative. They take risks. So their ability to make products in their own small space is going to, I think, create a lot of interesting results that we can't even foresee. Um, and I think that it'll lead to um, almost like in the way that a computer allows you to use it flexibly in any way by writing different software. This is allowing you to be flexible that way with physical matter. You know, you can almost, you're taking physical matter, turning it into whatever you want. And I think once you do that, everything is open, including art, including things that have no use per se, but you can imagine all the artistic uses of this as well. So I think it's limitless once certain challengers are met, because right now the types of materials that you can use are limited, and the machines that are more versatile are also much more expensive, not the kind of things you would put in a house.
So, can you please provide a specific example of how you see 3D printing changing a business or industry?
Um, well, we talked about prosthetic limbs. That's one industry that I think will be very changed. But I think there'll be things like there's so many industries that could be changed. I think one thing we'll see is anything that fits on an individual, a person. Jewelry and clothing, I think, will be very customized in the future. That's one industry. And I think that'll even extend to things like homes and cars and automobiles, where the seats will be customized to you, or you'll be able to have much more of a free form type of design in your home, instead of just things that could be made out of flat pieces of wood, or wood cut at 45-degree angles. You'll be able to sketch out some arbitrary shape and be able to print that out. So I think that the home improvement and the home furnishing industry, as well as the fashion and jewelry industry, would be two examples.
Do you see 3D printing creating or eliminating jobs? If 3D printing technology creates jobs, what would those jobs be?
I don't see it eliminating jobs. I think most technologies don't really eliminate jobs so much as move them around to other areas. And I think that there are many products where you do want to make the same thing over and over again. And most of those products are still going to employ the same people. They'll lose jobs for other means, because manufacturing moves somewhere else, or whatever the case may be. But I think that in terms of 3D printing, it's going to seed a whole new industry. There are already companies you can go to now, and if I want to 3D print something, I can just download a piece of software, design something, and I send it off to a .com somewhere, and in the mail, UPS brings me that part. So it's already popped up, sort of this cottage industry of custom on-demand manufacturing. And I think that there's going to be a lot of that popping up. And then you need designers behind that. If you're going to be printing custom things, there's going to be a whole new slew of designers who really know 3D software, and will be the ones needing to turn people's thoughts into the kind of designs that can go into a 3D printer to make it. Because just because you can conceive of something doesn't mean you know how to manipulate the software to draw that object in 3D. So there'll be people like that who are involved. I think there are going to be people designing ways to capture real-world 3D objects and turn them into computer files for printing. So you see something, you sort of take a 3D image of it, the computer does the rest, and the next thing you know, your 3D printer is popping out an exact copy of what you just took a photograph of, almost like you were able to photocopy an actual object. So I think designing all of this equipment and then putting it to work to actually design and make parts for people. And I think that's the kind of job that is roots level. Anybody can decide to do it if they want to start their own business in their garage, so to speak.
Okay, so last question. What would 3D printing look like in the future? And if someone was interested in 3D printing technology, what would be the best way to get involved?
Well, I think that what you're going to see in the future is 3D printers being able to use more and more types of materials. So right now in your home, you basically print with plastic, the same thing that a piece of Lego is made out of. But already there are printers that can print in different kinds of metal. There are printers that can print in food, like design, you making something out of chocolate, or being able to 3D print, some wild wedding cake. You can already find machines that can use custom materials. You can find machines that can print a temporary shelter out of cement or concrete. But none of those are common or at the level that a consumer can afford. So I think you're going to see your basic desktop 3D printer, which you can already buy from major companies like HP in a store like Staples.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see them moving from being able to print just plastic to almost, limitless possibilities of what you can print, so that you can literally build not just a part, but an entire product in the printer. A working final product will be able to pop out the other end of the printer. And I think that's where it gets exciting, because you don't have to then assemble a whole bunch of little parts, and you're not limited to just hard plastic.
And if someone was interested in 3D printing technology, what would be the best way to get involved in it?
Well, there's a lot of online information available. I would say that there are a lot of maker fairs that take place. There's at least one a year. There's one in Queens. It's about building of all types, creative building, whether it's whether it's robotics, using a basic computer module to control it. But there's a 3D aspect to it as well. And I think if you join or attend a fair like that, you will meet a lot of like-minded people. I think that there are some stores popping up that deal just in 3D. There's a company called MakerBot that builds a home 3D printer. They have a retail store presence. I think if somebody shows up there and asks a lot of questions, you have a wealth of information coming toward you about other people who live in the area who are interested in working with you, connecting you maybe with a facility that can do 3D printing for you if you're not ready to buy your own. Not having tried to involve myself yet at sort of the basic level, like somebody just starting off. I haven't tried any of the things that I told you, but by watching and reading about it, that's how I think I would proceed.
So thank you for your time. That is David Greenberg, who is an IBM chip technician. And thank you for your time. This is website team 1062-902 for TSA states and nationals. Thank you.
My pleasure. Good night.